Japan. So I don't know how this movie performed in the box office, but all I know is that we were the only two people in theater that day. Um, and we watched this movie, and the whole time I was groaning about when this film was gonna end. Because it's basically about this guy, this like crooked villain slash actor, who basically made his money by stealing jewels and like returning them to, or giving the money to like poor people somehow, and then keeping some of the money for himself because he's a heist man, and about how the cops are trying to catch him once and for all. um but it's like it's just so badly done, because they have this like really stupid twist about him like contracting AIDS or whatever. And it's like we're supposed to feel bad for him, but like he's a criminal who's harassed women, who's stolen like crores of rupees from people, and he's just overall not fun to be. It's it's basically Animal, but like if supposing it was taken as a not a fuck yes awesome guy, and it's just, oh, don't you feel bad for this man who made all the wrong decisions and got exactly what he deserved.
Yeah. My main gripe with this movie is how often Karthi was drunk throughout the movie. The entire time he
I
was
think
drunk,
he
he was babbling, and even when the scenes where he's not supposed to be drunk, he was still playing the drunk character, which got so annoying after a point because all the
maybe
time he
he
was
was
making
just always
faces.
drunk. Like we just didn't see him drinking, but he might have been drunk the whole
Maybe,
time.
yeah,
You never know with this man, man. I don't even know what his character was.
it got old really quickly. It gave me the Vijay vibes where you crack a little joke and do haha when there's nothing to be
And
laughed
he's
at.
also such an
It
incel. He's
was,
like, I fell in love with this woman and I only want her. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? You fuck like 20 other people. I guess it's
yeah,
not an incel thing. It's the opposite. It's the alpha male shit, I guess. Again, like, oh, I have a one-itis, but I fuck all these other girls because why not? That's bullshit.
yeah, it was not a good movie. It was a dumpster fire of cinema.
Maamannan. Um,
I don't remember.
it's the movie where basically like there's this guy who was a political leader as a father, played by Vadivelu, and Udayanidhi Stalin plays the son, and the son is only interested in like
Oh
art, and
yeah.
he loves to like do this stuff. But his father is like a strong political leader, and it's this story about how like the other people in the party are kind of for like a different section of society. Like they believe in all these rich people and all that stuff. Then Vadivelu is like a I guess he's like a poorer section. I don't remember if there was was there like any like caste specific discussions in it, or was it just like community differences?
Yeah, I think it was just politicians and commoners
Yeah, it's like communal
and like a mid
differences.
tier, subordinates of these politicians, like
Yeah.
Vadivelu was.
He
Uh,
wasn't a subordinate, he was a politician himself. He was just from the poorer community.
oh, I mean, he was like under these larger politicians, I
He's
guess.
like an MLA. They were like the
Yeah,
chief minister. That was the thing.
I
So
think it was a good movie.
I
I mean, I
just,
don't know about good, but I think it was okay at
I
least.
think it was decent. I think the part for me that really bothers, and I think I'll probably get cancelled for this, but it's just that I don't like it when people like Udayanidhi Stalin make these kind of films. Because, like, the whole point is that they're talking about, like, corrupt politicians and all that shit. But, like, dude, your family is like a political empire in Tamil Nadu, right? If anyone should be fixing this stuff, it should be your family. And I don't like it when he's making these. I guess it's like if you want to separate the actor and the politician, sure, it just kind of leaves a weird taste in my mouth when people who do have the power to do something just don't do anything and then just complain about it in a movie and say, oh, you guys should vote. Like, yeah, we are voting, nothing's happening, that's the problem.
Yeah, for me personally, I think I can. I think I do a good job of separating the two. Didn't really let it affect me, but I think the movie was okay. The only
The
good thing
second
was
half was
Vadivelu's
really
acting
bad.
for me.
He
Everything
was
else was meh
brilliant.
for me.
I think it's just sad because I saw Maamannan and I was like, oh, Vadivelu was such a good performance. And then after that, we saw Chandramukhi too, and he was just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's meh to me.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Right, Maaveeran.
This was a good movie.
Amazing movie. I really like this film. So Maaveeran is like an action comedy where like the main character, he's like this cowardly artist, like up and coming artist, who is like in like a very poor section of society. He's from a very poor section of society, and he kind of feels depressed once, and he basically tries to harm himself, and in the process of doing that he gets this like special power where he can hear this narrator telling his whole life in the form of like one of those old action comics, where they're like, oh, and the great warrior did this, and the great warrior took his sword and axed off the man, like that stuff. I really, really, really like this movie.
Yeah, I really liked it too.
I think the ending was trash, garbage, fire, and it really made me angry. But I really, really liked it otherwise. If I just, like, through the power of denial, ignore that,
Yeah.
great movie.
The ending aside was a really good movie. It was so funny.
It was
for me.
really funny.
Like the whole, it's like Tom Hardy and Venom's banter.
Yeah.
Similarly, this guy and the narrator's banter. Right? It was hilarious, and Yogi Babu was the star for me with Patchwork, and I think it was so funny how Yogi Babu was always being bullied and troubled throughout the movie, and I think it was a really good movie.
I agree. I'm gonna put this in GOAT for me.
Yeah, I put it in GOAT too.
Next is Mangalvaaram.
I don't remember.
Mangalvaaram is the story of this village where a bunch of murders are happening, and they're basically trying to figure out who's doing these murders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I'm getting this feeling that I didn't like the ending. Did I not like the ending?
I didn't like some of the characters in this movie.
I
More
think
than the ending itself, I think I really didn't like some of the characters in this film. I just feel like I don't want to like give away too much, but essentially, like a lot of the people surrounding the main character, they could have done significantly more to help them, and instead of going down this route. And I also they kind of started rooting for a lot of things, people who were like the villains of the movie, because they seemed more consistent with their ideology. Not that I think that what they did was right, I just think it was really like funny because they were
Yeah.
just so over the top and so awful.
Yeah, at its core though, this movie had a really good story.
I think it's interesting.
It's also
yeah.
something that's not really covered.
I
It's
agree.
also, I guess, kind of taboo in India. So at its core, it was a good story.
I just feel like they
And-
could have executed it a lot better, especially
Yeah.
the editor, man. Like, guys, you have to know that Adobe presets are like an option. You're supposed to use them sparingly. You're not supposed to use them. Just download one Adobe preset and be like, all right, this is going to be the whole movie now. It can't be like that. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's just that, yeah, once the movie ends and you're just left thinking, wait, why did he do this? This seems like a much simpler thing to do. Or this seems like a more humane decision. So
It's so
it's just those
convoluted.
plot holes, and they don't really do a good job of explaining why someone was compelled to take the unorthodox decision.
I agree.
So you're kind of left with some questions, but I think it was meh, at least for me, if not good.
Okay, Jigarthanda Double X. Brilliant is all I can say for this film. I made a reel about this movie, but to kind of take you through like what this film is about, it's essentially about this.
Jigarthanda Double X was a great movie. It's a movie about this person who's been sent to prison, and now it's been a few years, and he has a chance to, get on the good side of the cops and maybe have a chance at a new life again. And so to that end, he's supposed to infiltrate the so-called base of these gangsters along with a few other inmates, and this movie is fantastic. So along the journey, it turns into a spy thriller as he's infiltrating this base, and then there's a lot of
Action
moral.
comedy.
There's a lot of action comedy. There's a lot of moral dilemmas.
And then
It's a
it,
long one, but I think it's worth it. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And it changes genres so much in between, just like how, Karthik Subraj's movies always do that, so I kind of expected it. So yeah, overall, this is like a movie that I really think that people should go and watch. It's very interesting, and it shows like the effects that cinema basically have in our life. So I'm gonna put this in go.
Yeah, I'll put in go too. Oh, and also, as you told me, I know everybody has a different image of SJ Surya, but I only started watching him in 2023, so I have a really good impression of him, and I think he's one of my
So
favorite South Indian
type in the
actors.
comments if you want like Hemu to watch a bunch of old SJ Surya movies.
I'm not denying he could have done some questionable stuff, but hey, a man can change. I think he's done a fantastic
He
job.
has turned his life around in
Yeah.
that sense. Like he moved from sleazy, weird rom-coms to extremely good character roles.
That was one of the best movies of this year.
I agree. Kannai Nambathey.
What's wrong with-
This is another one of those brainiest movies. It's the same guy from Maamannan, yeah. Dude, I don't even know where to begin. This movie is about how this like seemingly nice man gets like basically shafted by his landlord, and he's forced to move in with some guy. And then when he moves in with some guy, he has like a party one night, and then the next morning he finds this dead body in the trunk of his car, and he doesn't know how it got there, and he doesn't know how to like prove that he didn't murder this person, and it's just him struggling to like figure out what happened and how this ended up in his car. It's so bad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was a mess.
It was like they kept trying to do all these like one of those like it's like one of those movies like an onion that just has like a lot of layers. Like the more you peel, the
Yeah.
more. But if you like chronologically sit down and write this film, right? It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. There's no way anything that
Yeah.
actually happened in this movie. Like, I think I could write a full like 3-hour essay on why every single plot twist in this movie makes no sense. Not one aspect of it makes any sense to me. So screw this movie. It sucks. I hate it. It's like it is an onion movie, but it's a very, very rotten onion movie. So it deserves to go in the bottom. Or actually, never mind. I put it in brainiest because it's kind of funny. Mark Antony. Yeah, I didn't like this movie. And you loved this movie.
I like this a lot. I like this movie a lot, and again, it's SJ Surya, and I think the comedy was amazing. SJ Surya had this kind of, extremely angry comedy. Like he's screaming at the top of his lungs at all these people. His expressions are so on point. I was laughing throughout this movie, and the concept itself, essentially, what happens in this movie is that these people find this device. It's a telephone, and using it you can call and talk to people from the past. And now with this device in hand, there's a lot of things that they change, and they manipulate the timeline. They call people, they ask them to do something, and then the presence change, right? So it's very chaotic. And my only gripe with this movie is that the framework and the rules of the time travel,
Yeah.
there's a lot
They
of
make
holes in
no
there.
sense. See, like
Yeah.
for me that's the part that very much frustrated me, and I just couldn't get it out of my head, and so I did not enjoy this movie as a result. It's just that like the there's like a set of rules normally, right? Like any time machine time travel movie follows, and it doesn't have to be like 100% physics. Like I'm not expecting like primer here, right? Like that's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting Back to the Future, where yeah, sure, if supposing you think about some continuity errors pop up, and like there's like there is some failure in physics in some cases, but it's like at least there's a logic, there's a plot, there's something. In this movie, I don't even know what the rules to time travel are. I can't write them down because everything I tried to write down, it just went out the window immediately. Like the next time they time traveled, or they did like a call, and then like the time line changed, it went out the window. So I don't even know what the rules of this movie are. And when I went back and saw, I realized this movie had three writers, and all three of them are not known for very good stuff. And also SJ Surya apparently had like a lot of like he interjected with a lot of his feelings for this movie. So I think that it might have just been a case of too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just kind of made it a very confused, muddled mess, and I didn't enjoy it as a result.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but admittedly, it was because I put the fact that the time travel doesn't make sense in the back burner, which is honestly is quite central to the movie, right? It being a time travel movie.
Exactly.
So that said, I really enjoyed it, and I put it good. I put it in good if the time travel stuff makes sense, but because it didn't, it has to be meh for me.
Veera Simha Reddy. Oh no. So I he didn't watch this movie. I watched this movie with a friend of mine, and no, we were really sad. We were sad. We went to this movie kind of expecting it to be garbage, because it's literally Balaya with Shruti Hassan. So like that's not even close to like an age gap that's acceptable. But like, yeah, it's so much worse than that because it's like he plays a double role. He's the dad and the son, and honestly, but it's basically some stupid movie. There's like this villain, and his wife like tells him you have to go murder this guy, and only if you murder him, I'll like be happy in this marriage or some bullshit. And then he goes and murders that person, and then once he does that, she says, "Oh, psych! I just found out that he has a kid. So now you had to kill the kid too. Otherwise, I still won't be happy." And then he goes to kill the kid, and the kid turns out to be some like awesome guy who Shruti Hassan falls in love with, even though he's clearly a 63-year-old man pretending to be like 25. It's stupid. Um, yeah, anyway, it's dumb. It's badly made. I can't even take this movie seriously. It should be in a category below dumpster fire of cinema. That's how much I fucking hate this movie. I hate it. I wish it didn't exist.
Go for it. Make a category.
I think, and it's the thing is it's as bad as the other. I think that it's better than Bhagwant Kesari, but it's worse than these movies. So I might just move Bhagwant Kesari to no, and move Veerasimha Reddy to dumpster fire. Poor Thoril. This movie I actually really really liked.
I remember that I did like it, but I don't remember what the movie was.
So it is basically about this man becoming a police officer because that's his dream. But like he's like one of those people who's not very like strong or brave. It's kind of a contradictory thing, but he has to get over that fear, right, to become a police officer. And then what unfortunately happens is he ends up being assigned to an extremely tough cop, um, who he's played by Sharat Kumar, the dad from Varisu, and the guy from Bhagwant Kesari.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they end up being sent to this like place where there's a bunch of like murders happening, like it's a serial killing, and they're trying to figure out who is after this stuff. So it's that kind of story.
It was a good movie. I think they did a good job with stuff that sets up the environment for you, like lighting, faint music playing in the background, building up suspense and that stuff. Like I remember that scene where he's breaking into the house and all. I think I like this movie. It was, I think Sharat Kumar, wow, to my surprise, he did a good job acting.
Because the
I'd
last
seen him
movie
in
is the
Varisu.
Mars.
So I think I like this movie, yeah.
I liked it too. I think that I walked in kind of expecting like a murder mystery, kind of like a Haunting in Venice, but I think it's more like a crime thriller. So I don't think you're supposed to actually guess who the murderer is through it. I think you're just supposed to follow along with the cops' investigation. Um, and I like that they were. I also kind of like the kind of funny red herring, literal red herring that they had in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but there is a red herring. And I liked the everything else, honestly. I liked the way that it was paced. I liked the realism that they showed with like investigations like this. And overall, it was actually really good. So, do you want to put it in GOAT or do you want to put it in good? Is the question now.
I'd put it in good.
Yeah, that's fair.
And yeah, that was one of my favorite things about this movie, that it was realistic. It wasn't just, you know, extremely exaggerated. It was pretty good.
I agree. I think good is the right way to go for it. Shaakuntalam. I'm not gonna say anything about this movie. I don't even want to say anything about this movie. If you guys are gonna watch it, don't watch it. It's not good, and just go watch the old Shakuntala movies, honestly, because those are much better than this one. They're better produced, better written, better directed, and that's kind of sad because a lot of them are black and white, and somehow they're better than the upgraded uh, movie. So no, not gonna tell you anything about this. Go read the book. Go read the Amar Chitrakatha. Do anything. Don't watch this movie. Miss Shetty and Mr. Polishetty.
Oh my goodness.
We have very differing opinions on this film.
Yeah, this movie started out good. So, what happens in the movie is that it's this guy who likes this girl, and then he's trying to
No, it's
court.
the woman who starts. So it starts on her, and she realizes that she wants a child, um, and but she doesn't want to like have a significant other.
Oh yeah. So it's about a woman who feels the need to become a mother, right? But she doesn't want like a partner in life, so she's looking for a sperm donor. And then the sperm donor they find ends up falling in love with her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then but he ends up falling in love with her, but he keeps it to himself and think until things are too late, and then it's it's not the worst plot line, like the worst story at its core when you think about it, but the way it's been directed just keeps going on and on. It just never ended for me.
It didn't end for me, and I didn't even like the premise because it just frustrated me. Because to me, this woman, I just think the part that's very annoying is that like movies, Indian cinema takes these plot lines that could potentially show like a strong like message about like good things, and then they just mess it up with romance. Like that's the part that really frustrated me. Like this seems like one of those movies where if you go in and you see it, you're like, oh, okay, it's a woman becoming a sperm donor, and it should kind of like, I don't know if I should spoil it for you guys, but it's basically like if I have a movie about a woman like taking a sperm donor, right? I kind of expect it to either be that she sets up the premise up front with this person that that's what she's doing, or B, even if she doesn't, it turns into like a slow like burn of romance where they both realize, or they both just never become like friends and they leave and they don't talk to each other again, right? But this movie does all of the above. It does this shit where she doesn't want to have a partner, it does the shit where she wants to have a partner, and it does the shit where they're just friends. So it's like what is the point? What is the point? What are you trying to tell us? You are scared to have the ending, which is strong, which is that she decides to have the child and they continue to be friends and get over their differences. But you decided not to do that ending because you realized that maybe the Indian audience don't like that. And you went with the stupidest ending, which was converting this woman who was very strong from the beginning that she doesn't want to have a relationship into a woman who wants to be in a relationship. I just hated that dynamic. It was so bad. No, this movie is just a no.
No, my my review of it wasn't as nearly as harsh as yours. I think the romance was fun, especially from a guy's perspective, right?
To
He's like, he
just
has a
tell.
crush on his woman. He's finding it hard to tell her. It happens, right? So I
Yeah,
think
it
that
happens. It happens to women as well, but it doesn't change the fact that you don't do what he did.
that's I agree. I'm getting to it. So I think it was fun to watch that. The
He
jokes were
proposed
nice,
to her.
but the
Before
way
even asking her to be his girlfriend, he proposed to her. He proposed to marry her. You understand how delusional this man is, right?
yes, I'm getting to that. So that's what I was saying. There's a lot of things that are unrealistic. For example, the way they go their separate ways, the way he finds her, you know, the way that stuff happens with like the whole scenario of being a sperm donor and like things like anonymity and all. It's just that there's definitely like movie magic kind of stuff, which is like
It's
hard to believe, but yeah, I think it was okay. It was meh for me. It wasn't terrible.
it was horrible. I would put it the bottom, but since you liked it, I'm gonna put it no. Oh man, PS2. This is just a disappointment after a disappointment. Um, so for those of you who don't know, Ponniyan Selvan is a Tamil historical, you could say, drama, basically about the Chora Empire and about the, like, what do you call the ascent of Rajaraja Choran, one of the greatest Chora kings, which is a like a dynasty from Tamil Nadu, which is in South India. So it it's based on a book written by Kalki, which is a very large five-part series, which goes through this series and flurries of events that kind of lead to this man ascending the throne, right? And it's an interesting story because like most people talk about Rajaraja Choran as a king, they never talk about how he became king. And so I like that aspect of the film a lot, not the film, but the book a lot. Um, the film, however, decides to throw all that out the window, because the director, and I really like this director. Like, I think Maniratnam is a very good director. But if any of you know Maniratnam's filmography, then you know that Maniratnam is very good at making romantic dramas. That's what he's very good at. And you should have seen my review of Polishetty just now, don't like romantic dramas. But I like a lot of Mani Ratnam romantic dramas because I think that he does a very good job of making them realistic, and he tells complicated stories and places them in complicated settings. Like, very good at that stuff. And that goes, you know, double for like this movie, because one of the main focuses of this film is a complicated star-crossed lovers thing. And it's just they kind of ruined it. They kind of ruined it with that star-crossed lovers thing. It's a political drama about people, about intrigue. It's about how there's like so much like behind the scenes shit that happens even in a monarchy where it's seemingly ruled by one person. That's the beauty of Ponniyin Selvan. That's what you're trying to show, how manipulative people can be and try to make things out of whatever decisions the king is making. They try to like intervene in it as much as possible, and it's like a this like power grab that like a lot of people are trying to do, and different people are trying to do power grabs, and none of that is in this film. This film is solely about like two characters. Like, the focus is on two characters, and one of the characters, sure, it shouldn't even be a focus on them, because the thing is that in the book, what happens to that person is like a very integral mystery, and they don't do that in this movie. They don't have a mystery for that person.
Yeah, for me, I had a tough time judging this movie, and it's because of something you probably didn't realize. But for me, the subtitles were just not good for this movie. The many of the translations were off, and also the main thing was for me, that all these characters in this story, I get why they're long because it's from adapted from a book, right? But the
And
names were very long.
but it's also not adapted from a book. It's like historical.
Yeah, it's also
So they are
historical.
actual Tamil
But
names.
they should shorten the names for subtitles, I feel like, because the names were so long with like 6
You mean
syllables.
tell me
By the
Arunmozhi Varman was not an easy name for you to remember?
It was very difficult. So by the time I'd read something, the subtitles would go off, and then I'd never remember the names of the characters. So the next scenes wouldn't make sense. Who they're talking about? I was just lost in this movie. I didn't know what's happening. So I'll leave it to you to put it in whatever tier you want to.
Yeah. I give this movie some props for being less. I did hate this movie passionately, but I'll give this movie some props for being a coherent film. So I'm going to put it in no, but just know that I'm not putting it in no because I don't passionately hate this movie. I'm putting it in no because it has some traits that are better than the fucking Flash. Okay. It's a movie I watched and you didn't watch. This was the movie that I watched when you were watching Pope's Exorcist, which is apparently not good. And I enjoyed the movie I watched. It was Neelavelicham. So, Neelavelicham is the story about an author who moves to like a small village to write his stories, because he's just kind of feeling like he's out of inspiration and he feels like moving back to the small place will help him. The thing though is he moves into a like a small house that has like a low rent, but the reason why he moves into that house and it's low rent is because people believe that this house is haunted. um, and obviously initially the author doesn't believe in ghosts and all that stuff. He's like, this is so stupid. But with times, like a lot of weird things start happening in the house, and the more it starts to make you wonder, is the house haunted or isn't it? um, I want to give I want to give a disclaimer here. This movie is a remake of a really old Malayalam movie, called I think something. It's like called like Bhargavi, mm, something. I don't remember the house
You'll add it
name.
in post.
Yeah, I'll add it in post, but I don't remember what it's called. But it's like a really old movie that like has been praised a lot by a lot of people. So and I haven't watched that movie. So this is a new retelling of this film for me. So I'm gonna look at it from that perspective. Maybe at some point I'll watch, the original, and then I'll realize, oh, this movie is not as good as it is. But that was the main criticism that I've seen for this film, that it's not as good as the original and it doesn't bring enough to the table compared to the original. So I don't know anything about that. I'm just going to talk about this as a standalone film. It's really well taken. It's so mesmerizing. When I finished watching this film and I walked out of the theater, I was still kind of feeling like I was in this universe, this very like rural Kerala area, with all these things going on. I could still see the images from the film afterwards. So it's like super impactful to me personally. And I think Tovino Thomas's performance especially helps a lot with that. If you have, I'm not going to recommend or not recommend this movie because like I said, I haven't watched the original, but for me this was very good and I would put it in the good category. Maybe my ratings might change eventually. Next is Varisu. I made a full video about why I hate this movie and why it gave me a mental breakdown. Do you remember when we first watched this film?
All too well. It was
We
3
couldn't
hours of
finish
torture.
it in
Yeah.
one sitting.
Yeah.
That's how much of a disaster film this was. We couldn't finish the film in one sitting. Do you know how insulting that is?
Yeah.
Do you?
My my respect for Vijay was declining as I began to watch these South Indian movies. There were some high points. There was some good movies. It was declining, and when Varisu happened, it went straight down to zero.
And to minus infinity for me. This
Yeah.
is, dude. When I was trying to pick a poster, this is something I noticed when I made the video itself. But I was trying to pick a poster for this film. There are like 14 different posters for this movie, And all of them look different. Like, all of them don't tell me anything about the film. All right. It, it's just so bizarre that they couldn't even come up with like a poster to define what this movie is. That is how bad this film is, because you don't know what this movie is about. Nobody knows what this movie is about. It is horrible, horrible, horrible. Fuck this movie. Fuck it. Dumpster fire directly.
Yeah.
Your favorites. Coming up. Kisi
Oh, no.
ka bhai. Kisi ki Jaan.
Yeah, this is a Salman Khan movie.
A Salman Khan movie. Is
Yeah.
there more that needs to be said?
So I don't know why we went and watched it. It was probably Matangi's idea. But this was not
It
a
was
good
my
movie.
idea.
It was, wasn't it? It was not a good movie.
What's the story here?
The story is that there's a community in Delhi. Correct?
The big boy Salman.
Yeah.
Bhai.
So he's like the the big boss, like the big guy everyone looks up to in this little community in Delhi, and he keeps the neighborhood safe and everything. So people have a lot of respect for him, and then he falls in love with this girl who's traveling, played by Pooja Hegde, who's from Andhra Pradesh, and he falls in love, and
It was
then
weird that there's like two movies where they were just like clearly catering to the Telugu audience.
yeah, it was one of those pan India films again.
Pandya film, like how they said
Yeah.
in Jigarthanda Double X.
Yeah. And then they show the story about, him trying to court her and whatnot. And then the story also involves some gang violence and shit that they have to fight, because obviously Salman Khan, he has to be in an action movie. But again, it's just everything's exaggerated. Hyderabad is not at all what Hyderabad is supposed to
Yeah,
be like.
that was the part that was
So
so
it's just-
weird. It's like,
it's a
why are they
mess.
pretending that Hyderabad's a fucking village?
Yeah.
Like, who has, if any of you guys have been to Hyderabad, go watch this movie and then tell me if you could ever even like begin to imagine a village style banyan tree in the middle with a bunch of houses around it in Hyderabad. Jubilee Hills. They live in Jubilee Hills, guys. They live in Jubilee Hills with a giant banyan tree in the middle of a community. That's what Jubilee Hills looks like to anybody who's been to Hyderabad. Seriously asking you this question. Because you have to actually be on some kind of insane drug to think that. I don't even know what. And then the part that's even more weird is they were in a metro. Like 2 seconds before that. That looked like the actual Hyderabad metro. Like, it looked realistic. I mean, it was clearly green screen, but it looked like the Hyderabad metro at least.
Yeah.
And how do you go from metro to some fucking village? Like, how does that happen? How does that happen?
Yeah, just the dialogue, everything's just so
Gunda
off.
money.
Yeah, there's the Gunda Maneni scene where he literally, like, the Pooja Hegde's family has the last name Gunda Maneni, and what's supposed to be like a compliment as per the movie, but clearly comes off as derogatory to the audience. He says that there's Gunda in your name, so of course we're gonna fight or something, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, how do you say that to your in-laws, that they are
And your in-laws are
Gunda
just like,
in your
yeah,
name?
that makes sense.
And then there's another scene where Salman Khan's fighting off like 200 guys. Clearly they're after him, and he's just acting in self-defense. And then Pooja Hegde is like, "Oh my god, how could you kill them?" And like, I'm like, what?
Dude,
He
they were
hasn't
trying to
killed them, they
murder
kill
you.
him.
Yeah, they're trying to murder you both. And they weren't just after him, they were after her too.
Her too, yeah. And then, as usual, it's one of those movies where cops don't exist at all. So there's just so much stuff happening, and you have questions like, "Wait, how's that possible?" How's
And
that
Rowdy
possible?
Anna, man.
There's no
Rowdy
way
Anna
there's-
was the biggest insult on the planet.
Yeah.
What is Rowdy Anna? What kind of name is that?
I have no idea.
All I could think of was the what Sudeep, too much cock you're showing me.
Yeah. That was the whole movie.
That's the meme. It's just that meme.
Yeah.
And then my even better part was that this is a full-fledged production by an actual production company with real heroes, real actors, real everything. And there's scenes in this movie where the camera goes out of focus and they just leave it in the movie. Just who needs a second take, guys? It's fine. We don't got time for that. Just leave it in. Who cares? Nobody's gonna notice that.
Yeah. And it's also sometimes people say for these mainstream actors that they can act, but they are compelled to make mass entertainers, because it's what sells. in this case, the production house that made this movie is called Salman Khan Films.
Why
So I'm sure
doesn't
he
he
had
just
a lot of
make the, yeah?
autonomy.
Why doesn't he
Yeah.
just make the movie he wants to make? Because apparently this dude, I don't even know if he can act anymore with the amount of Botox he has in
Oh,
his
yeah.
face.
So it's a dumpster fire.
Brainius,
Or Brainius, sure.
Brainius or dumpster fire?
You can go with Brainius. Jawaan is one of Shah Rukh Khan's big movies of 2023. And it shows Shah Rukh Khan plays a warden in a prison. And aside from that, he leads a double life where he's a vigilante. And he has a team of women that, work with him and help him. And it's one of those movies where he makes demands on live TV, on national TV, and everyone watches in awe and shock at the things he's doing, right? And he tries to go against the norm, like politicians and stuff, trying to do stuff for the farmers. It's that kind of a movie. And for me personally, I think the romance stuff was good. The action sequences were okay, not the best, but and in general, something like a prison warden leading a double life. At least I haven't seen it before in Indian cinema, so not too bad. On the story was original, but the movie was too long. For the team of women that Shah Rukh Khan had, each of them would have a backstory played so the audience would know, right, who they are. So those were a bit too much. They had like six. I think like four would have been enough. And then the demand Shah Rukh Khan would make to further his agenda, again, there were like three or four, and I feel like two would have been enough. So if they shaved off an hour of the movie, I would have been much happier. But yeah, it was a decent movie otherwise, just too long drawn out for me.
Okay, guys, my fellow South Indians here. I want you to watch this movie. I want you to write down every single movie that you felt this film was like. You know what? I'm just gonna list them here. I list them all here, and it's gonna fill up the whole screen if I do it. I just it's just a ripoff to me. I liked it that it's a Shah Rukh Khan movie. I enjoy Shah Rukh Khan. All of that stuff is awesome, but it's just a ripoff. It's literally a ripoff. I can't get that out of my head.
Mhm.
So uh, there's I'm conflicted. So for me, in terms of story, it's a no. In terms of Shah Rukh Khan, it's a good. So I'm gonna go with Meh for this one.
Yeah, I'll go with man too.
Next we got Leo.
You take this one.
We already talked about this though. So all I can say is that uh, for me, this movie is a good film. Just because it's the weakest of a series does not make it a bad movie. Um, I enjoyed it a lot, especially after watching Varisu. This is a significantly better film. So to me, it's a good movie.
Yeah, I was surprised by this movie too, in a good way. So having liked Vikram and Kaidi, I was kind of honestly worried for the Lokiverse, seeing that Vijay is going to be in the next installment, and that was mainly had to do with Varasu, but also Puli. So yeah, not
You're
uh,
just gonna always bring up Puli every time we talk about Vijay, huh?
yes. So yeah, he didn't have a lot, going on for him, but for me at least, I enjoyed the movie. It's to put it in two words, it's three words. Is they see John Wick, and they did a really good job. I think I enjoyed this movie a lot.
I
It
do
was
too.
good.
And the last is Soppana Sundari. Yeah, I watched this movie. Hemu did not. Um, this movie is basically a story about a woman from a poor family. She has like a sick father. She has a mute elder sister, and her mother has to like stay at home, take care of them, and she has to be the main breadwinner for the family, right? And she struggles with that because again, she doesn't have the best job in the world. But suddenly, through a lottery ticket, she wins a car, and she's super excited for it. But what happens is that because they suddenly have this new asset, a lot of old relatives try to come and like mooch off them, try to get the car from them, and it's just this comedy revolving around that. I really liked it. But I want to give like a disclaimer. I watched this movie at home. I didn't watch this movie in theaters. So for me, watching it at home made it really, really like it was entertaining. It was perfectly good from that angle. And some people were a little pissed off by the ending because they felt it was a little too feminist for them. But I liked it, but again, maybe I'm a woman, so that might taint my opinion a little bit, if you could call it that. Um, I'm gonna put this in meh for two reasons. Number one, I think our good is kind of crowded, and number two, I watched this at home, so I feel like I would have felt more strongly about it if I had, paid for it to be in a theater. Um, so yeah, that's the end. Unless you want to make any changes.
Uh, yeah, I think the list is pretty good. Apart from the couple of movies I wanted to be in court.
Yeah, that was our trade-off.
Yeah, it's they didn't good though.
Yeah,
So it's still pretty good. Yeah, I like the list.
yeah, I like it too.
Really disappointed with Annapurni.
And what else?
Yeah, what's the other one? Divinity.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, a bunch of them.
Those are the ones that are really disappointing. And
Mm-hmm.
the one that I am 110% satisfied with is Kate the Tortured Crossing. That one I'm very satisfied with. That's my favorite movie of the year. It gets all the rewards. I hope it wins Oscars in every category. And Neil Breen deserves more fans. That's the end of this.
Yep.
You have nothing to say after that.
I cannot say that I'm a Neil Breen fan though.
I am a huge Neil Breen fan.
Yeah, that's not my thing. I don't like watching PowerPoint in theaters.
Wow, you guys have a lot of people on your side. At least let's make it equal.
No, 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 no. Just no. It's a terrible movie.
I love it. It's its own category for a reason. Anyway, bye.